8:07 on WMAL, where Washington comes to talk. Brian Wilson, Tori Clark in today for Brian Neiman. We are joined on the phone by our good friend Tucker Carlson from the Daily Caller. Tucker, how are you?
Oh, good morning.
Good morning.
So, your thoughts on the Olympics?
Well, I mean, they've taken all this criticism for being left-wing and PC and all that, and I guess I would say, well, what do you know, of course. I mean, it's the premise behind the Olympics is, one world. We're all united. And I mean, of course, just like the UN, any international initiative that, elevates, gives small countries an opportunity to stick it in the eye of the United States is going to be, at times, anti-American. But I think the Olympics is great anyway and entertaining. And
What about the opening ceremonies?
Please tell me you watched, because I want to hear what you thought about the giant baby as part of the National Health Service
Well,
tribute.
I thought it was completely bizarre and horrifying, and I immediately went outside and cooked a hot dog and had a Schlitz and reminded myself that I'm American, and thank God.
Because I'm okay, once every 2 or 4 years, whatever it is, I'm okay with the "We Are the World" thing, and we can all suspend disbelief for a bit. But I can't get over how bizarre that opening ceremony was, and it was so Danny Boyle self-indulgent. What he thinks is important about the British people, not Winston Churchill, but the National Health Service. I thought it was appalling.
The great thing is, whenever you feel like America's in decline, or we're not what we used to be, things are out of control, you see something like that and you realize we're still so much better than everyone else. It just makes you feel good.
There you go. Do you have a favorite sport in the Olympics? Is there one you get up in the morning and go, I cannot wait to check my Twitter account to see what's the latest
the javelin.
There you go.
The javelin.
Yeah.
Because it could have the most spectacular mishaps, I guess, potentially.
And it's something you can practice in your backyard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now that lawn darts are illegal, though, it's harder.
I think we should have a category for javelin catching in the Olympics. That'd be great fun.
Now that would take
My
skill.
husband thinks that so
impress.
many of these sports, like, say, gymnastics or during the Winter Olympics, figure skating, could be improved by paintball guns, that a few people in the audience should be chosen as the lucky ones who get to use paintball guns just to liven things up.
He's such a smart man.
Isn't he?
There's nothing like bacon. Paintball guns.
Yes.
Almost everything.
Exactly.
I want a couple of other topics I want to touch with you on. One is
just put that image in your mind: figure skating and paintball, ladies and gentlemen.
What about these comments that came from former Vice President Dick Cheney regarding Sarah Palin? Were you sort of caught off guard? Because when you listen to the sound, it's not an area that Jonathan Karl was asking about. It's something that the former Vice President just volunteered into the conversation.
I think when you're 71 and have had a heart transplant, you decide you can say whatever you think is true.
Good point.
I guess what surprises me is how everyone else has had, on the Republican side, conservatives, is sort of play along and pretend that's not true. Oh, no, Sarah Palin, no, she was ready to be president. But, I mean, I like Sarah Palin, and I agree with Sarah Palin's politics most of the time, frankly. But, no, Cheney's completely right. And everyone has had to kind of play along because so many people are intimidated by just the raw aggression of Sarah Palin and her followers that, you couldn't say that. So good for Dick Cheney.
What about this Newsweek cover that asks the rhetorical question, is Mitt Romney a wimp?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is supposed to be a sort of parallel of, the famous 1988 cover, The Wimp Factor for George W. Bush. I mean, look, I hate to give a banal answer, but I mean it. Anybody who runs for president is a tough character. There's just no, I mean, obviously Tori knows this better than I do, having, worked on this, but I mean, they are tough people. Anyone who decides to put himself or herself in their through this, just by definition. I would say the one thing I agreed with that piece on, and it was written by a hardened lefty, we should say, but Romney ought to release his tax returns. It's July. Now is the time. Do it now. I don't know what could be in there that he would be so afraid of letting people know about. It can't be that big a deal. I mean, people have sex tapes released and go on to make millions as public figures. It's like nothing is that embarrassing. So that's the one thing I'm sort of...
Carlson advocates Romney sex tape. I just want that to, people note that.
Well, no, I doubt there are sex tapes. And I don't think his tax returns would suggest that. But I mean, if you think of all the people who've had horrifying incidents in their lives and gone on to rise above them, how bad could the tax returns be? Not as bad as withholding them.
Yeah, my theory on that is that when he ran for governor, they went through this at that level, and they decided that not releasing them and putting up with the grief was better than releasing them, and they were successful in that category. But I take your point. They are good, they are smart, they are tough. But as you know, there is a huge difference between running for any statewide office and running for President of the United States. Huge difference.
Sort of, yeah. And I mean, it seems to me, if I was applying for a home mortgage, I'd have to give up more financial information than Romney's giving up. I mean, this is a big job. It's not a joke. I don't know what the justification for not releasing them is. And I like Romney. I'm not in any way attacking him, but I mean, can we just be real? I mean, the guy wants to be president. I want to know the results of his colonoscopy. I think that's fair.
Yep. Agree completely.
All right, so there's a story got posted last night on the Daily Caller that writes about a book that's about to be published that has some rather eye-opening things about the raid to kill bin Laden.
That's correct. And to be completely clear, this is not reporting that our reporters did. This is a book that is, as you said, about to come out. And in it, the claim is made that the bin Laden raid was called off several times under pressure internally from the president's advisors, and that it really was a matter of dragging the president to this decision to finally raid the compound in Pakistan. So I mean, that's a very serious charge, it seems to me, and it flies directly in the face of this the spin that's been put on the raid. That President Obama was a sort of cool hand Luke about it. I don't know. I'd be really interested to see how the White House responds. We've got a bunch of inquiries in.
One of the things I'd be interested in seeing somebody write about really seriously and very thoroughly is, even 3 years in, President Obama makes a lot of his decisions based on the advice and counsel of a very small circle of people. Really small circle. Probably the smallest circle that any president has had for decades. And Valerie Jarrett, probably right at the top of that list. We know very little about these people who are key to the decision-making of the president. I'd love to see more on that.
Well, here's what I know about Valerie Jarrett, and you know this too since you live here and, like me, know a lot of Democrats who work around the administration. She is not liked by a lot of senior Democrats I know, a lot. Valerie Jarrett has very few friends here, and that's a bad sign right there. Whenever your advisors are, reviled by the people they work with, it suggests that you, as president, are very cut off from lots of smart people, and it's worrisome. If it's true that she's one of the only people he really listens to, and from everything I know, that is true.
All right, Tucker Carlson of the Daily Caller. Always a pleasure to have you on our program.
Take care, Tucker.
I appreciate it.
Talk to you soon, Tucker.